You're listening to Around Comics. 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 Comics.
You are listening to Around Comics and watching Around Comics live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know. Smoke signal.
Your head is huge again.
Damn.
Your
can't
head
help
is
it.
huge again.
Listen, it's genetics. What can I tell you? It's just it is the way that it is. There's nothing I can do. I have a giant melon head, and no camera is big enough.
There is
I can sit back like here.
lens wide enough.
Here we go. I can be way back here. This is the only way.
There you go. Yeah.
How's
That's
that?
good. You need
Better?
to relax. You need to kick back and relax.
Kick back, relax.
Yeah.
Just be. What's up? What's going on, man? Tom is late. Tom wanted to start late, and he's still fucking late.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
it's such a diva.
These millennials.
Well, I mean, it's whenever you're considered the talent.
When did that happen? When did Tom ever be? Why? In what way is Tom talented?
Exactly. I don't know.
First of all, it's a comic book podcast. There's no talent required.
No.
Secondly, what talent does he show ever that he's considered the talent?
Hey, I'm just telling you what perception is. That's it.
It's bullshit. It's like
I
Trump.
agree. How you doing, bud?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
sitting
summer.
back.
It kind of almost feels like summer.
It was warm. It was warm by me today for sure.
I had a cookout this weekend.
You're a little warm. You're a little further north. So
yeah. It's but finally, I think it's time to break out the shorts. Lots of good stuff to.
Are we really vamping? We're talking about the weather. We're vamping, talking about the weather.
No, we're not going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about comics. It's been a couple weeks, right? I missed a week.
I can't keep track anymore.
I know. I got so much stuff to talk about. You want to jump in, and Tom will join us in a second. I'm Chris, by the way.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. It's good to meet you, Chris.
Yes,
I'm Brian.
I was talking to the peoples.
Oh, there's nobody listening.
I know.
We're watching. There's nobody paying attention to this. Come on. I can't sit back like this. I'm not comfortable being comfortable. I'm only comfortable being uncomfortable. I can't.
that is such a way to describe you.
Yeah, it kind of is. Kind of is a good way.
Before Tom jumps in, because I know that I don't believe that he has read it or looked at it, but I did see on the social medias that you had picked up the Parker, the Martini edition Last Call from IDW.
I did.
It's really sexy.
Yeah, it's a nice, they did a nice job putting together the last bits of Darwin's work on Parker and some additional stuff and make it, volume 2 of the Martini edition to go with the first one. So it's nice. It's very,
and we get the benefit, the added benefit of Brubaker and Phillips kind of stepping in and doing a Parker story, and just sort of, yeah. It's read it, not going to spoil it, but man, the book is just dripping with their love of Darwin Cook. You just tell the reverence that everyone involved in putting this together had, because they knew that it was going to be like this last collection of the last thing that he was working on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't, if you're in comics, and especially if you're a guy like Brubaker and Phillips and, doing crime comics, and, it's, this stuff is like some of some of the best crime stuff out there as far as art and, being able to do the Parker stuff, which is also very influential in and of itself. It's cool. It's on, it's a little bittersweet getting it, because it's just sort of like, the last of Darwin's stuff, and he didn't do enough. You know what I mean? Like Darwin
Really
did not.
selective.
Yeah, he didn't do that much stuff. So,
Well, he was one of those guys that so uber talented, but he kind of split his I mean, obvious love of comics and just his own style, which was distinctive to him. But he did other stuff. I mean, he was working in TV and animation, that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like Bruce Timm, who contemporary of that. Whenever Bruce Timm does something, you take notice because it only happens every great once in a while.
well, he had to make a living, and
Well, yeah.
unfortunately, he didn't draw the way that as appreciated as he is by, I think, people in the industry, and certainly he has a fan base. The wider sort of realm of mainstream comic book fans, I don't know that necessarily were scooping up all the Darwin Cook stuff that
Right.
I mean, even like a New Frontier was something that I think struggled initially to find an audience, and I think it was struggled even to get published to some degree initially. And Darwin, it's interesting because I feel like he, and I'm certainly not a Darwin Cook historian, just a fan of his work, but I feel like he kind of came on really fast, when he was already kind of later on in his career, and then it was like by the time he could put something out that would sell, like the Parker stuff, I don't know how well it sold, but it was like, I think it was it, it was kind of this weird point in his life where it wasn't like he was in his 20s and he
No,
was,
he was not a Marvel young gun.
yeah, and so it was an odd kind of thing. Like, so I don't know, even the Parker stuff, like how well did any of that stuff sell? It sold to a certain degree because of Darwin Cook's own fan base, but I think in the larger realm of things, I don't know that he was that successful as a comic book creator,
Yeah, and
from
and
that,
then and that's fine.
financially, I mean.
Yeah, and you make an interesting point. And hi, Tom.
Hey, what's up?
What's
Howdy.
going on, Tom?
You made
Not
an
much.
interesting point that he kind of came to us. It felt like he came to us like fully formed. It's like we didn't. And I know that he had done stuff in the early 2000s. Some ecstatic stuff, and he had kind of bounced around with some of Bruce Timm's Batman, the Timverse stuff. But it did feel like he came to us fully formed, and I know that like we just lost Neil Adams and George Perez, and I think that both Neil and George, well, maybe not Neil, they would both say that that their historic work was behind them. When Darwin Cook passed, I mean, he was at like the height of his popular. I don't know if he had ever been as popular as he was whenever he passed away, and the level of
Yeah,
his work was
as high as it had ever been. Like he was
yeah.
doing the best of his stuff, when he died. And yeah, I mean, he had, you know, not a lot of success in comics before that. I don't know what 10-year period. Like it was after New Frontier. Like that was really what all of a sudden he came on the scene from that. And even like I said, even that book did not like it took a while before that thing like sort of found an audience. I don't think it did very well in the original. I remember buying the original prestige format issues of that
Mm-hmm.
and going, who the fuck is this guy? I have no idea who this is.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't know who Darwin Cook was at all, and I didn't know what it was, and I just saw the cool covers. I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't ever really expect him to become Darwin Cook. You know what I mean? Like I didn't expect him to all of a sudden become one of my favorite artists in comics, after that, but it did happen. And it was and I think that's what it felt like though. It was just like he went from kind of unknown to this explosion, but he was already, 40 years old at that point. You know what I mean? It wasn't
yeah.
like he was a young guy. So it was an interesting kind of career, and in some ways sad because, like you said, he was putting out the highest of quality work when he died. It wasn't like, his skills had started diminishing anyway, or he wasn't putting out just amazing stuff. And so it's,
Well, he
yeah,
was going to put together an entire library of the Parker stories, and it's that will never be realized with his vision now, and that's
Yeah.
Did someone die and I don't know about it?
No.
We're just talking about the Parker, the Martini edition Last Call came out. It's this big tome.
Show it to me, baby.
Yeah, it's all of his last work on the Parker stuff.
Yeah, so we were just sort of being.
We were waiting for you, and we were walking down memory lane because Tom wasn't here.
That's all right. I was just like, oh god, I hope I was like,
brim Bucks hat there.
Peace,
They
guys.
lost, Tom.
Hey, don't stop being a fan just because they leave,
I know.
Well, I don't.
Chris
I mean,
does.
I don't know, Chris.
Go Miami Heat.
He can jump on a bandwagon quicker, on and off a bandwagon quicker than anybody.
my Steph Curry jersey out of storage because they're good again or something.
Yes. So yes, Darwin Cook. He is obviously very, very missed, and was fucking pretty amazing for a brief period of I don't know, like it's one of those things where like has anyone made a bigger mark in a shorter amount of time? I'm sure there are. I'm just
Stranko, maybe.
He's still around.
I mean, Stranko didn't die.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
he's still alive.
I'm thinking like small amount of work, big influence. Frazetta. You think about the people who are
Frazetta.
Huh? Well, Frazetta didn't do that much sequential.
Oh, you're saying just comic stuff. Yeah, but I mean that doesn't count. He was a fucking world famous painter. Like,
well, yeah, but I'm just talking about. It's a comic book show, man. I'm talking about comics.
No, I know, but I don't think would you say Frazetta's comics are like his comic work is impactful? I can't even tell you like what he did in comics. Like,
I mean, I think some guys. Didn't we talk about this when we talked about the Barry Windsor Smith book, like Monsters? Like
maybe
he actually hasn't
done that much.
Like if you really like stack up the like number of books he's done, it's not a huge amount. Like it's
huge impact though. Huge influence.
Gigantic impact, but not like
Mazzucchelli. Yes, you did. Mazzucchelli is a guy.
Good. Weapon X, the hardcover. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think Mazzucchelli's another one. Not a lot of stuff, but huge influence. Yeah.
Paul Pope was that guy for a little bit, I felt. Hell, Sean Murphy. Well, I know we're going to talk about Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy was that way for a while.
It's a good segue into Beyond the White Knight.
Sienkiewicz?
I was going to say Sienkiewicz because he hasn't done really that much comparatively to his impact. You know what I mean? Like the amount of artists that talk about Sienkiewicz as an influence, considering that he hasn't done really, like a huge body of work. He's had an amazing impact on comics for sure.
Yeah, gigantic impact.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm like, I should look this up before I say it because I'm gonna look up the comics he's done and be like, oh shit, actually he's done a ton.
He's done a shit. Nah, I think you're right.
But I don't think he has though. I think like he's like one of those dudes who like every time he did something, it was a huge deal and it had like a huge impact and it was like, oh shit, and like
here's so just to go back to Darwin and talking about impact, I was looking at his Wikipedia page. So here's his list of Eisner either wins or nominations. So best finite series, limited series, DC New Frontier, 2005. 2006, best single issue solo, number 5. 2007, best single issue single story, Batman / The Spirit, number 1. 2007, best graphic album reprint, New Frontier. 2007, best publication design, Absolute DC New Frontier. 2010, Richard Stark's Parker, best adaptation of another work. These are all Eisner wins. Best writer artist 2011, best graphic album reprint 2012, Richard Stark's Parker. 2012 best short story, The Seventh by Darwin Cook. 2013 best adaptation of another medium, Richard Stark's Parker. 2014 best adaptation of another medium, Richard Stark's Parker, Slayground. 2014 best letterer, Darwin Cook, Richard Starks, Parker Slayground, 2015 Best Cover Artist, DC Comics, Darwin Cook month variant covers, and then he died in 2016. So it's like between 2000 for 10 years, he won a fucking Eisner almost every goddamn 2005, 6, 7. He didn't win anything in 2008 or 2009.
That all of the Parker stuff falling into the like adapted work. It was just like anybody else who adapted a work while he
you're
was doing
fucked.
Parker,
Yeah, you're
like,
done.
Fuck it.
But that's what I mean. It was like he, for a decade he was winning. He was the best.
Yeah,
everything he put out was winning
He's
Eisners.
The Kirby Puckett of comic book creators.
The Kirby Puckett.
10 years,
Short and fat.
Sure.
He did not get fat and lose his vision though.
Short, fat, and surprisingly quick. That was
But he was Puckett played like almost exactly 10 years and
huge impact. He had a huge impact for sure.
Yeah, nice. Well,
especially when he was hitting his kids, that was a huge impact. But I'm sorry.
I was waiting for the problematic Kirby Puckett discussion.
Talking about on the field. Anyway, we were talking about Sean Murphy, who kind of falls into that category of, hey, you see something that Sean Murphy is doing, and it's kind of an automatic buy for people that know.
People in the know, around comics listeners.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, you know.
So Batman Beyond White Knight with the 3rd issue came out.
Tom, whenever you take a sip of your drink, it is the loudest drinking. It's like clink, 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 wham! I don't know.
This
You're
microphone's
like
just
a fucking
like
Foley artist over there.
This microphone's just like, I'm not even that close to the microphone. That's the I'm like, it's like way over. It's like arm's length away. It picks up everything. Now that I know that, I'm gonna
it is
more
pretty
gently.
It's just
like a good it's a good microphone. Yeah, it's like, look, it's all the way over there. It's not a.
It's just like when you first got on, before we even said hi to you, I hear clink, 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 slam.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, just thought it was funny. That's all. Yes, Batman Beyond the White Knight. Tom's here. I'm like, is Tom angry? He's slamming his drinks down like a drunk at last call.
Okay, let me set it down and you tell me if it's loud.
Yeah,
is that loud?
Yeah.
That is me. I am just like literally just setting it down on the table.
It sounds like clunk.
All of your surfaces is like cork.
I have a big cork. I have a big cork coaster just because.
Okay, I just grabbed a coaster. I grabbed the coaster.
It's the problem with those microphones too is you have it sitting on the desk, so it picks up everything through the desk. I used to do that. That's why I got like arms for mine. We don't need to talk about microphone placement. Yeah. Podcasting 101.
Microphone, because if it's picking up that ice clinking,
it's kind of it's kind of funny.
It's amazing.
What were you saying? Oh yeah, Sean Murphy and Dave Stewart.
We're talking about White Knight, which I just discovered, but obviously I don't know because I didn't read this. Wait, no, I didn't read this one.
Is that the second one?
Yeah, this is Curse of the White Knight. And so they're referencing some things in the new story. I'm like, I don't remember that. I'm old and I have a terrible memory, but I don't remember that.
Is it a case where I didn't read it, or I
just forgot?
Don't remember. I forgot.
Yeah. So I think that's my point being that if you want to, you can just jump into Batman Beyond the White Knight, and you don't have to have read everything. It helps, but you can kind of jump into this if you want.
Yeah, it's a continuing story for sure. I mean, each one goes into the next, but it's not. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. But hey, if you enjoy it, you should read them all anyway. They're all good. And I think I will say of this one so far, I think I talked about this the last time I talked about this book was I feel like Sean Murphy has really come a long way. I mean, he was always a pretty good writer, but I think he's come a long way as a writer, and he's always been a fucking awesome artist. But like the in this issue in particular, like the opening sort of scene with Batman and the Joker in his brain, and them just sort of going back and forth, which I thought was clever way, because like that was Batman Beyond, right? Like it was this new Batman with Bruce Wayne in his ear all the time. So this is sort of a twist on that. It's Batman with the Joker in his ear, essentially the whole time. And I thought he played it really well. Like I thought just the back and forth dialogue between them was really snappy, and it just like
It's a buddy movie.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Yeah.
very much like a buddy movie, or you've seen this sort of thing a lot in different comics, whether it's Firestorm or Shazam. I think they've even done that to some degree at times, where it's like the hero and then there's someone in their ear talking, and then like we said, Batman Beyond. But I just thought he did a really excellent job with it. I thought it was just really great dialogue, and that I'm always really like I'm really hard on dialogue. Like shitty dialogue, I can't stand in a comic. Just like garbage.
It's like a fart in a car. I mean,
it's just bad.
You notice right away. And like I was saying, you can jump right into this, and he gives you, and it's subtle. He gives you enough information that you don't have to have read recently anything, and he does it in a way that you don't feel like it's exposition or ham-fisted and saying, oh, these are the bits of information you need to know, and it's obvious that you need to know that. It's just it is naturally told in the flow of the story, and that is good writing.
And I think to sort of add to that, I think what he does really well is story beats. Like he gives you emotional beats, so even if you don't necessarily know the backstory, you kind of understand the emotional weight of scenes or the feeling of it that you're supposed to have, because he kind of writes to these emotional beats really well, which is really advanced. Like that's like really advanced craftsmanship, which a lot of comics you don't see that so much.
Yeah, agree.
Well done.
That's it. Well done.
Well done, Sean.
Anything? Congratulations, Sean Murphy.
Congratulations, Sean Murphy.
And he draws fucking cars just like you can like there's a scene where you see the bat, or it's not the Batcave, it's the GDCP or GT, what is it? GCPD.
Yeah.
Gotham City. And it's like their garage, and there's 3 Batmobiles in there, and it's the Michael Keaton Batmobile, and then the new there's actually 4, because then there's like the new ones in there, and he just throws them in there just because he probably just fucking loves drawing cars,
Yeah, I mean, dude just loves drawing cars.
He does. He enjoys it.
It's funny because they make Powers, who is the antagonist in this. He worked in the Wayne automotive division.
Yeah, we got to have lots of cars. We lots of cars.
Yeah, I love the trick, and he's not the first one that's done it, but in the conversation with Bruce and Joker, where Bruce is not in costume, but the shadow on the wall is the cowl. Not the first time it's been used, but it really it's used once and used correctly, right?
He used it more than once.
Did he?
Yeah. There were I want to say there was 3 times that he did that. And it's funny because every time he did it, I'm looking at Bruce's head, and I'm like, could this light actually cast it on his hair to make it look like a cowl? Kind of, maybe, and
Maybe.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think he did it a couple of times. Well, what he did actually, now that I'm looking at it right now, and what he actually did is he didn't use the shadow of Bruce, because Bruce is standing in front of a bat suit, and he used the shadow of the bat suit cast behind Bruce to make it look like it's Bruce's shadow, but it's not. It's the fucking bat suit's shadow.
That sneaky bastard.
Yeah, so when you first look at it, it looks like it's just Bruce's shadow, but in reality, it's the fucking suit. That's really clever.
Yeah.
God damn, he's good.
He is good.
Oh,
he's pretty goddamn good.
That's why he keeps making these.
He does.
Someone stop this. Someone stop this man with this clever
comics.
Clever comics. And no more. This kind of transitions into the next thing I want to talk about. Sean Murphy uses the whole Bat family mythos really well, and that's something that just about anybody who's reading these knows who Dick Grayson is, knows who Barbara is, knows who Bruce is, knows Harley. I mean, these are known characters, so they kind of have their own set of rules, their own characters to them. Same thing as in DC Vampires Hunters, #1 this week.
You just love your segues, don't you? You're just
do.
you're just such a fan. When
He's
you
in the lab just
You-
making them.
right, like beats. He's like it's like a professional DJ creating beats.
Yeah,
It's
beats,
Chris
yeah.
spending. How much time did you work on that segue, sir? Like how?
Well, I mean, it's Batman to Batman, so that's pretty.
And he's like, I just hope no one messes this up and starts talking about something else.
I'll be extremely disappointed if someone.
That's true.
Tell me about your vampire book that you love so damn much, Chris.
I
You
like
and your
the DC versus
vampires.
Vampires. It's
You love your vampires.
yeah.
I gotta admit I like vampires too. I'm a vampire. I've always been a vampire.
So are you a sexy vampire fan?
I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to a sexy vampire, but it needs to I think the sex and
Yeah.
vampires go hand in hand to a certain degree. I think there's
Hell yeah, like Nosferatu.
well, there's a certain amount of sucking blood. I mean, the original Dracula was sucking someone's blood. I mean, there's something
You're a
sexual
True
about
Blood
that.
fan.
I like True Blood. I mean, yeah, True Blood was, but that I wouldn't call that my favorite vampires ever. Right?
What's your favorite vampire?
Ooh.
Movie or just like fictional vampire or kind of like style genre?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna limit it. I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave it the door wide open. Wow. Good question.
Yeah, well, I really love, and I think they're kind of similar. I love the movie Near Dark is one of my favorite vampire movies. I think it's very underrated, and I love that take on sort of almost like a Southern Gothic hillbilly vampire clan, but not over. They're not. I mean, it's over the top, but it's not like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 over the top.
Yeah.
It's just enough over the top.
Just enough, just a touch.
But there's also a series of books. What do they call it's the character is called Joe Hurt,
Oh yeah.
and it's a comic book writer.
Yeah,
I
the
can't think of his name.
Charlie
Charlie
Yeah.
Houston,
Yeah,
and
he wrote Moon Knight for a day or two or something.
yeah, and I really enjoy those books. There's a trilogy. I don't know if he's done any more of them, but I really enjoyed those. And he's a kind of the same thing in the sense of it's a kind of noirish, a little more realistic kind of vampire stories, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's I like that kind of stuff.
Chris,
And What
your
We Do in
favorite
the Shadows.
vampire?
And What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't count, but I love What We Do in the Shadows.
Chris, your favorite vampire?
As a kid growing up, absolute Fright Night. Loved
Fright Night.
Loved Fright Night. Love that movie.
You're more of the comedy vampire.
Well, and
Oh, when I was a
but-
kid, I loved Transylvania 65000 with Ed Begley Jr. and Jeff Goldblum, which I haven't seen in a very long time. But I must have watched that movie 9 million times for whatever reason. I don't know why. Gina Davis played a vampire in that.
There you go.
Well,
I
I
don't
love
rem-
John
Yeah.
Carpenter's vampires. If you're going to do a scary vampires, I liked his take on vampires.
I did too. I liked that movie. Yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires is my friend always said I was basically the fat Baldwin from that movie. That was yeah. Not sure how I feel. I guess it's good to be a Baldwin, right?
Yeah,
Any
not
Baldwin,
Stephen, no.
at least not Stephen Baldwin. Thank God.
Yeah.
Or
the fat-
Alec.
the fat
Alex
ball.
not having.
Well, Alec had. Listen, I'll take 50 years of being Alec Baldwin.
True.
The ratio of good to bad with Alec
Bad,
Baldwin.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a couple of good careers. He had a
Oh,
sexy, heartthrob, and then
Comedy.
comedy. Yeah. it's
Hey
like,
man,
Then he
you
killed
have
somebody.
me coffee is for closers.
listen,
Right.
allegedly, Tom. Allegedly, I don't know.
Allegedly, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Let's
Well,
not
anyway,
put- yeah.
Let's not get around comics shut down. The Baldwin boys coming after us.
Yeah,
Get the
so,
fat one chasing us down.
DC Vampires Hunters. Weird for me because I haven't read the last issue of DC versus Vampires, and so they're don't do that. There's some moderate spoilers in there.
Chris, why didn't you read it?
I have not had the opportunity to read it yet.
Confused.
Yeah. So I got
what book?
I got the cliffhanger in issue 5, and I saw DC versus Vampires, and I grabbed this, and it's actually the first issue of the next series. So they're gonna milk this one.
Someone help Chris figure out what order to read things in. This is not the next issue.
I was wrong. Sorry, Charlie Houston. There's actually 5 of these books, and it's Joe Pitt, not Joe Hurt.
Pitt.
I don't know why I was thinking Joe Hurt. Joe Pitt.
Joe Pitt.
Character. Yeah.
Joe Pitt's a vampire.
Joe Pitt is a vampire, and he lives in New York. And imagine basically he's kind of a private detective, not really, not officially. And New York is run by like 5 families of vampires as opposed to like the mob. But they're pretty much the same kind of thing. And
it's a good point. The city that never sleeps. It's a good place for a vampire,
right? And I really enjoyed those books from Charlie Houston.
Charlie. So Chris,
yes,
your vampire book. It was good.
It was good book. Good book.
Yeah,
good book, but you read it out of order.
It's silly superhero vampire stuff. If you want to see Damian Robin trying to light Martian Manhunter on fire,
who doesn't?
Yeah,
and who doesn't?
Torch him.
Yeah, it's good. It's if you like vampires and DC heroes, yeah, it's fun.
The only thing, and I won't say the character's name, but the character, because it spoils the end of
the king vampire.
Yeah, I'm like, really? That doesn't make any sense. Why would he end up being the king vampire? Like that, there's no real reason why.
I want to talk about this. I don't want to spoil it, and if I say this, it'll spoil it.
Well, then don't spoil it. Don't say it. Then shut up.
Okay.
Just don't argue with me. I'm right. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
No,
you're right. I can't believe that Snapper Carr
is the vampire king, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Like it's almost the too obvious pick, right?
Why do you just have to skirt around until you fucking spoil it? Don't you?
I'm not gonna.
Let's have to fucking.
Can't just fucking leave it. It has to like get cute, like.
It just has to keep.
It has to.
Tiptoeing around it until it. Let's just leave it as it doesn't.
Obvious. Oh my god. Okay. Who would be the most?
Whose
obvious?
Initials are. whose costume colors. Yeah. No, I liked it though. I did like the vampire hunter thing. It was silly, like you said. It was a little silly, superhero vampire fun kind of thing, and
it's not iVampire, right?
Yeah.
No. I think it doesn't. Doesn't it spawn out of iVampire? Isn't that the character from in DC versus Vampires, like that vampire? Isn't that the iVampire character? That's how the vampire thing starts.
It's not G.I. Robot, is it?
Not G.I. Robot. I can't remember now the first issue of who that vampire. I can't remember.
I think it's the character from iVampire. That's my guess.
Well, who is that? Who is that character from iVampire?
It's not me.
Me, vampire.
Me, vampire.
Me, vampire. Me, vampire.
That's the children's version. That's like me. That's the Art Balthazar and Franco version. Me, vampire.
Me, vampire.
Jeez, I just gave those guys an idea for a book.
Right, there you go.
Trademark. Copyright.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I think that was the whole setup. Is that the good vampire from iVampire was trying to stop the bad vampires from.
Good, bad. It's all relative. Come on.
I'm actually listening to a series of vampire books that Sal would fucking hate. It's called Fat Vampire. It is
Jesus
so
Christ.
popcorn.
Jesus.
And
Fat. It's called Fat Vampire.
yeah, it's
Fat
about a fat
Vampire.
vampire.
Of course it is.
It's about a guy who gets accidentally turned into a vampire, and he's like
Fat.
really out of shape.
I'm offended by the title of that book is a
You're
fat
triggered?
man. I'm a little triggered by that Fat Vampire
Yeah.
book.
Fat
It's fun.
Vampire.
It's fun.
I can almost guarantee you I'll never read Fat Vampire.
You will not. It's
No.
I just finished the third volume. It's All You Can Eat.
See, this is the problem with anyone being able to write a book.
Published on Amazon. Are there any
Yeah.
good public domain vampire characters we can
Oh,
relaunch?
I'm sure there are.
Is it time for our public domain segment?
We gotten already to the public domain site? It's only we're
No,
only
I'm looking it up because it's
yeah.
just,
Look
it's
up,
on my
see
mind.
if there's any. Well, another DC. Not to make this all DC, but
But
I
here we
just
go.
cannot. Every issue of Batman Superman World's Finest just gets better and
Yeah, it's
better. It is so good. This last issue, I was like a kid, just like going, "Oh my god, I can't believe that they just put that character. Oh my god, that character's in here too. Oh my god!" And it's just fucking awesomeness. It's so good. It is the Justice League book that I didn't know I wanted. Like it has the Doom Patrol in it, has Flash in it, it has Batman Superman in it, has I mean it's just it is my favorite book on the stands right now.
Wow.
Because it's just a good, fun superhero book and doesn't try to be anything more than and like from someone that loves superhero comics and is good at writing them with terrific art and yet still makes stuff kind of funny. Like they the Doom Patrol went to interview what's his name, Dr. Is it Dr. Immortus? The Immortal,
yeah.
Dr.
The wrinkly dude.
Yeah, and he couldn't remember anything, so they couldn't because he's so old. He's just senile now, so he couldn't tell them anything. And so just shit like that in this book make it so fun. And yeah, I mean, Robin's in it, Supergirl's in it, Flash is in it, and it's just like I just didn't expect any of this kind of crazy, wacky, gigantic kind of adventure in this, but it's perfect. It's like
It is the world's finest.
It is the world's finest. Flash is in it. Mirror Master was in it. What's his name? Wonder Woman's in it, kind of. It's just I can't get enough of it. It is my favorite book right now, I think.
Nice.
Green Lantern was in it. Everybody's in it. It's the whole fucking Justice League in this book.
Public domain vampire characters include, of course, Dracula. You could
Of
Dracula
course.
book of
The
it,
original,
of course.
the OG.
My favorite, though, is Lance Blood.
Lance Blood?
Bloodman.
Blood-
Bloodman. Lance Bloodman.
Lance Bloodman.
Yeah.
What is Lance? Tell us
From
about
Horrific comic. Horrific, number 12. Everyone's favorite. Horrific.
Are we gonna have a vampire in our public domain supergroup?
I mean, you got the League of Vampires. That's public domain.
Vampire.
Vampire, guerrilla western.
Ooh.
I mean, vampires were around for a long time. They could be in the Wild West with 2-gun gorilla, 6-gun gorilla.
What about?
Yeah.
I like the idea of a vampire gorilla with guns.
Why would he need guns? Do they shoot? Is he?
Why wouldn't he need guns?
Well, how about a vampire hunting gorilla? Like a gorilla vampire hunter. Right?
And his guns fire wooden stakes.
Why would a gorilla be hunting vampires? What's the backstory here? We got to come up with some sort of interesting, what did the?
Is it? I mean, is the gorilla like super intelligent, or is it just like a gorilla that got a hold of 2 guns?
They didn't really make that clear.
That was the backstory for that character, right?
6-gun gorilla. I think he was
just
trained,
like
and then his
like a trick, like he was like a circus performer.
kinda. I don't remember now. I think he was
vampires killed the circus. I feel like that's
it
been
wasn't
done
a
lot.
circus. I don't think it was a circus. I think it was like, let me see, Six Gun Gorilla. He was an ape named O'Neill who, as an infant, was kidnapped and brought from Africa to the United States, where he was sold to a professor named Bart Masters of Colorado. Masters was a loving
Bart Masters.
Yeah, he was a loving owner who the gorilla grew to love like a father. Masters taught his gorilla to dig, fetch firewood, gather water, cook, clean, and most importantly, load and fire a revolver. You know, all the things you'd teach a gorilla. And unfortunately, unfortunately, Bart Masters was murdered by Tut Strahan, leader of the Straw Hand Gang, in order to learn what Masters knew about the Great Mother Lode. So I guess he knew something about gold. O'Neill swore revenge on his master's killers and set out armed and dangerous to kill every member of it. So I mean, there's some sort of intelligence there. It's, I mean, he you know, he can
swore revenge,
right? So I guess you know, we're bringing him back.
Still, though, I mean, I don't know. Like, it sounds like he
kind of a servant, right? He trained him.
Yeah,
like, he didn't train him to play chess. He didn't.
Yeah, you trained him to do like all the stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah, right.
But then plus also how to use guns, which seems
very American. It's a very American story.
Yeah,
I'm gonna teach this. I mean, there is some absolute not very subtle racism. They brought a gorilla from Africa and taught him to clean and cook for you. But he gave him a gun. All right, maybe Six Gun Gorilla
stops.
Here we go. Greg,
we should change this segment into problematic public domain characters. It's just
public problems, public domain problems.
It's like, no, what are you doing?
Greg Porter says a gorilla trucker who uses trucking as his vampire hunting cover.
A trucker, yeah,
like it.
An overnight trucker who hunts vampires.
I feel like a gorilla, armed gorilla driving a big rig around the country is not going to be really hiding, you know, covering his tracks. That's going to be a little tough to sort of. I mean, if it was the 70s, it'd be fine. It has to be.
I taught this gorilla how to do everything I hate to do, plus also how to drive and shoot guns.
I taught him how to cook and clean and
he has
mow my lawn.
Commercial driver's license. He also has a commercial driver's license.
CDL. Wayne asks, do you guys remember the series Scarlet from DC Comics? She was a vampire killer. Wasn't that Bendis? Was that a Bendis book? Scarlet? Was that DC? I feel like it was.
I think it was a different book. Was it a
no,
different book?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I do kind of remember it.
The answer to your question is no, I don't.
Tom does not remember it at all. Scarlet was Alex Maleev and Brian Michael Bendis. Story behind a woman pushed the edge by all the wrong with the world. A woman who will not back down. Yeah, I think that's a different book. Oh, I know. Scarlet was what was his name? What's the artist that barely did anything yet was incredibly fucking famous and popular?
Frank Frazetta.
No.
Didn't we just go through this list earlier?
No, yeah, no. Not was it Ramos? I don't know. Well, there was a DC book called Scarlet from Bendis and Maleev, but I don't think that's. But I think there was another one by, like in the 90s, I want to say, and it might have been Ramos or what was his name? What was the guy that kind of drew like
Ramos?
Yeah, was it Humberto Ramos? Wayne, was that Humberto Ramos?
Answer us.
Or who was the other dude that was in the 90s that kind of drew like Humberto Ramos, but not Humberto Ramos. Who did
Jim Fern.
Spy Girls? Spy Girls? Who did Spy Girls? Nobody knows. Nobody remembers. All right, never mind. We're moving on.
Someone tell me.
I can't remember. I don't know.
Wayne says it was Jim Fern.
The colorist. Wait,
the artist.
Oh, the artist, the cartist. I thought I said that. Jim Fern was the artist. Oh, I don't know then. Nope, never heard of Scarlet then. Sorry. That
Never heard of it, and I think you're lying to us, and I
I
don't
think
think it exists.
you're making things up. Tom, did you read any comics this week? You haven't said anything yet.
You know, not really. I've been
No?
too busy. I read Immortal X-Men last week,
Yeah.
number 2.
How was
Are
that?
they still immortal?
Yeah.
Are all the mutants immortal now? That's the thing. Like they're all immortal.
Well, they can bring them back to life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, got Kieran Gillen writes a good Mr. Sinister. I could stand to read that. Mr. Sinister, who I've said many times is just one of the dumbest names
Mr.
for
Sinister.
a character that you're kind of supposed to like take a little bit seriously. You know, it's like,
Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, Mr. Sinister. But
I mean, he's a supervillain. You know, it's not like, I don't know,
So
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor. Yeah, I caught up. I talked about every comic I wanted to talk about 2 weeks ago when it was just you and me without.
I need
Chris
to leave the
without
show
his
more
segues.
often, apparently.
Without Chris's segues, we would just mention another comic.
We just moved along. The conversation
just kind of free flowed.
Without those really awkward segues, we we just
I gotta have some job around here.
It just moved.
You guys can do it again next week.
You're gonna be curling?
Chris is curling in Pittsburgh, so he's that's more important than around comics, evidently.
You're taking a trip to Pittsburgh to go curling.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it a hot scene there?
Did you lose a bet? Like? Did you?
Pittsburgh's a lovely city. I've spent a lot of time
I like
there.
Pittsburgh a lot. I may even get to go to a game at PNC. Yeah, Pittsburgh's like a lot of the Rust Belt cities. It gets a bad rap, but it's been a nice renaissance in the city. I like Pittsburgh a lot.
It's fun to go to the Carnegie Museum because it's like it's a real window into a different time where if you had enough money, you could just like steal everything from other places.
Oh yeah,
and like
the good old days.
The good old day. Here's just a room where I have a bunch of like the facades to ancient Greek buildings that I just took. And they're not like set. There's like a room with them. And
they
like,
were purchased. They were purchased legally. They were, you know, I mean,
I'm from someone. Yeah. But or it's like the room of dinosaurs he paid to be found. I mean, he paid someone to go find them, but it's fun. I mean, it's just like it's an amazing museum because it's filled with all this stuff that you realize is in this one place because this one guy had so much money that like
more money than God.
He was able to accumulate like, I've got dinosaurs. I got ancient Greek temples. I got one of everything. There's a room in here with a little bit of everything.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, it's like he was at a time where no one had that kind of money before.
Yeah.
Other than like emperors.
I mean, it's better than, you know, you made a bunch of libraries. I guess it's better than like being on Twitter.
He was trying to figure it out. He wasn't building rocket ships.
It's just funny because you're inside the museum and it's like a museum, right? And it's got like how you would go to any museum, like the Field Museum, and it's got all this stuff. But then you realize it's like, oh,
this was
like,
just one dude.
All his stuff. This is his stuff. This isn't just like,
this old stuff. I just had this laying around, and
that's his. Like,
I'll just put a museum together.
It's like, I want to name a dinosaur after like my niece. I'm gonna pay someone to go discover a dinosaur.
Me a new dinosaur.
Find me a new dinosaur. It's like, all right, man.
He was a wealthy man.
Yeah. It's like,
what do you do with that kind of like, you know, incredible wealth? Nobody seems to have a good answer. Has anyone ever, you know, anyone that has ever accumulated immense amounts of wealth has never really done anything good with it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Carnegie, and not that this is around history, but the Rockefeller and Carnegie, I mean, they basically spent the first, 3/4 of their life trying to amass as much wealth as possible, and then it kind of became a competition on which one could do the most philanthropy. That's
I mean, there was no social media,
no.
so you couldn't like spend all your
$43
time
billion
online.
trying
You can
trying to get the crooked president back on,
Yeah, that's
trying to get
You couldn't buy a social media company to get back at the people calling you a dork.
yeah. It's like I want to build a library in every town in America. Has now turned into I want to buy fucking Twitter.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
I'm sure Carnegie did plenty of terrible things.
Oh, he was the labor shit that he stamped down. I mean, yeah.
Well, anyway,
That was good
All
for
I'm
the good of the
saying-
country, God damn it.
all I'm saying is check out the museum. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, at that the Warhol Museum is cool, and actually the really cool I guess you can call it a museum is the Heinz. I forget the name of what it is, but it's the Heinz has a 4 or 5 story building that
The Heinz Ketchup Museum.
there's a lot
Just
of
all ketchup bottles.
there's a lot
All
of ketchup stuff in
56,
there.
all 56 varieties before you
Yeah.
get to.
It's a cool attraction. I like that. But the Warhol one was kind of weird because it was a good Warhol museum, but it had like none of the like big works of Warhol.
Yeah.
I mean,
Soup cans.
yeah,
Someone
there
owns that. Yeah.
there was
One
no
of these rich.
soup can to be found.
That's because he was fucking whore and sold his goddamn art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The true genius.
Yeah.
Sell your stuff.
Sell your shit, and because it's just bullshit.
But Pittsburgh also the home of some pretty awesome. Oh, I got a segue.
For God's sake,
Some pretty fantastic comic book creators there, including Jim Rugg, Tom Scholey, Ed Piskor, and Dave Wachter, who he of the Wachter Factor had Spider-Man 2099 Exodus #1 came out this week.
it's a long title.
Oh, you did that? I didn't read that.
Yep.
What was it?
Dave, and it's not just because I like Dave. Dave's art is great, and this looks great. The art was definitely the star of this. It is, yeah. It's everything that I said about like Sean Murphy earlier about how stuff doesn't feel forced. There was a lot of I'm going to catch you up in this little pocket universe.
It's the year 2099, and I'm
That's Spider-Man.
A lot of exposition.
Yeah, I would agree. I really like Dave's art in it. He
Looked awesome.
It's amazing how far Dave has come as an artist since when we first met him, and it's awesome to see him doing stuff like this and working for Marvel. And he did a bunch of stuff for IDW for years and stuff, and has really just earned his bones. But yeah, it's like this is like a legit superhero comic book Dave's drawn, and which is just he was always the indie guy, you know what I mean? Like Dave is like he's such an indie guy,
anti-establishment.
Yeah, right. And he, yeah, it's cool to see him do it. But yeah, the writing was not great. I enjoyed the story to a certain degree. It's not really a Spider-Man story, which is
not a Spider-Man story.
No, it's but yeah, the art was certainly Crossbones. Dave's 2099 Crossbones design is pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah. I like his Winter Soldier design for the Winter Soldier. But yeah, this Spider-Man, the 2099 Spider-Man, who's almost like the Crypt Keeper in this.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of that was a little odd, but yeah, it was cool to see Dave doing it for sure, and his art looked great. Looked very good.
3 books. I had 2 solid segues. My work here is done.
I can never watch Archer and see the character Krieger and not think of Dave Wachter.
Right.
I just he is forever Krieger, and Dave is nothing. Well, Krieger, like he is like Krieger in a weird way. I mean, there's not the creepiness that Krieger has, but you could see Dave sort of getting demented enough where he would be Krieger, but he there's just something about even the voice of that guy and the beard and everything. Like he is Krieger from Archer. will always be. He will always be Krieger to me.
He'll always be that to you.
Yeah. He doesn't need a holographic anime girlfriend though.
No, he's happily married now.
He is.
Yeah. Happily married. The only time I've ever seen Dave happy was after he got married, which is usually like the opposite of what happens to.
Yeah,
people.
right, guys.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying. Yeah.
But
You know it.
I don't have a segue, but Chris, if we don't talk about this, it'll be like a month since we were
Yeah.
supposed to
Talk about it.
the reckless
inside
book.
each of us is a ghost.
And you
It's
had
funny,
a perfect. Oh, go ahead.
I was the other night. My son, I was joking around with my son, and I was like, "You realize there's 2 skeletons in your bedroom. There's like one inside of your body and one inside of mine." And he was like, "Oh,
Why are you
never really
blowing
thought
your
about that."
child's
Yeah.
mind?
It's a skeleton inside you.
Oh, that is an interesting. Yeah.
Skeleton covered in
talk
meat.
about it.
What is this? The third, fourth reckless book? Ghost in You.
Fourth.
Fourth
one.
Another beautiful Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker creation. This is the story. This is not a reckless story though. He's not even in the damn book.
He's in like a little bit.
Yeah, he makes an appearance.
Steve Reckless isn't in this. I just made that up.
It is his last name is Reckless.
It is Reckless, yeah, I know. Ryan Reckless?
What is his name? I can't think of his first name.
Nathan
Nathan
Reckless. That's a good name, actually.
Ethan Reckless.
Ethan Reckless. It's good.
Ethan Reckless, yeah.
Yeah.
These guys are
this
good.
is an Anna story, which
his girl Friday.
Yeah. And I thought this was interesting in some of I don't know if it was the back matter or the introduction. Brubaker is talking about the schedule that they're working on, and that he gets this script over to Sean Phillips, and Phillips was super excited because he said that Anna is his favorite character that he's ever drawn.
Really?
Yeah.
His favorite character.
Character that he's drawn.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
He just must like nerdy
little purple haired. That's just him placating his base. I think that's not a real truthful statement. It's not his favorite. Come on, the favorite character is a 5'3" purple haired bespeckled young lady.
I don't know if it's we finally get a deep dive into her past and how she. I mean, we've gotten breadcrumbs leading up to this point, but she's a more interesting character to me than Ethan at this point.
Now you're just being ridiculous.
I look forward to her screen time.
Hyperbole.
Story.
Chris Perbole.
Perbole.
I can like her as a character more than the.
Listen, just because you have both white and male guilt, you can like male characters. You don't have to always like the female characters. In every book.
Oh, talking to white guilt. I'll segue and then we'll come back. K-Billy Super
circle around.
Yeah, K-Billy Super Sounds this week. We're going to be talking about Django Unchained. So,
Django, are we?
I believe so.
I thought you said Sunday you were driving. You weren't sure.
No, that's next week.
Driving to
Pittsburgh.
I'll be driving
back from Blitzburg.
But yeah, it's we're going to talk about
Django. What are you guys going to do for ACTV next week then?
We won't.
Should Sal, you and I do it, and we just talk? about it?
Yeah, you guys can just talk about.
We could talk about Russian literature and.
Yeah, let's do a bookcast. We just talk about books.
Weren't we talking about? What were we talking about at the end of the episode last week?
We were talking about Lenin's Tomb. The David Remnick book. Yeah,
that's right.
We could do. I would do a bookcast if we want to just talk about books.
Bookcast. Well, I haven't been reading anything. Well, I have a couple of books I could.
We could just talk about any of your favorite book. Yeah, whatever. We've never done that.
We do bookcast. Next Sunday, and we can do it whenever.
I feel like we're insulting Chris by being like, Chris isn't around. We can talk about.
We can talk about.
Books. I'm used to it.
That's all right. It's, you know, Chris reads big boy books like Fat Vampire. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I think he's actually listening. He's listening.
he's
to
listening to Fat Vampire.
I
He's
am.
not
I'm
even
listening, yeah,
reading.
right on my commute. Hey, I am listening to City Primeval, which is what the new Justified miniseries is going to be based on. So I got a little.
Which is why it's not a very good miniseries. No,
What?
Which is why it's not a very good TV show. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. City Primeval is not my favorite book.
I see how they're going to adapt it into a Raylan Givens story, though.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be
It'll be
Raylan.
fun.
But yeah, Reckless. No, I really enjoyed this too. I don't know that I would want, you know, her to be the, you know, Anna Keller to be the star of the book all the time, but it's, you know, it's a mystery, and there was a little supernatural to it and some Hollywood history, and which I think was, you know, fictional, kind of based on other stuff, but I have to love the usage of sort of a midnight movie Elvira Vampira kind of character in it, and yeah, all the it's just Brubaker just has like he combines all the things that I really like together always, you know, noir and horror and mystery and Hollywood and all that, you know, kind of stuff. He just has this way of putting it in these books perfectly for me. So yeah.
And the timing is interesting in this. It's, you know, I think we've all seen like LA Confidential, you know, LA in the 50s, and we've seen, you know, LA in the 60s, and this is an LA in the 80s book that still has that kind of noirish vibe to it. And that's, you know, I can't think of many other properties that you know kind of have that feel in that era, where it's like, yeah, I remember, I'm not that old, and I remember some of the things that are going on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. When you said that, absolutely agree. But it did come to mind like something that I don't even know if it was in the 80s, but it kind of has that same feel to me as like something like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Like feels like it's in the kind of in the 80s and yet still a noir. Maybe that's just sort of a new genre, you know, 80s. The 80s are
noir.
Yeah, 80s noir.
The 80s happened a long time ago.
They did.
They
did. Yeah, I also think it works really well because it's in Hollywood. It's in LA, and LA is kind of stuck in the past anyway, you know, and he always brings that stuff into it. Like old, you know, the past is always parts of his books, both literally and figuratively. Like he's always dealing with his characters' pasts, but he's also always dealing with the past of Hollywood or wherever the book is sort of set. So it's I think that kind of helps it as well. And it's, you know, it's like noir is, it doesn't matter where it's set, you know. I mean, it's not technically noir, it's neo noir, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but it's just that same
themes.
Yeah,
you know, a dame walks into my office and blah blah blah.
Of all the gin joints in all the world.
It is interesting that there does seem to be a theme that in the series, that it's always something from the past is coming back to fuck with people.
Yeah,
it's always a drug deal gone bad, or you were a part of you ran with a group of people, you know, back in the early 70s, and now, you know.
Well, I think you know,
pay dues.
Knowing Ed Brubaker a little bit, you know, and just his history, I think it's just part of him. You know what I mean? Like I think he spent some time in his youth, maybe
His first published work was autobiographical, and it was called Low Life.
Yeah, and so I think he there's a part of him that looks back always on like the shit that he did when he was younger, and you know, he's kind of maybe you know, trying to sort of write that out of him. I don't know. Yeah. It always it's always,
you know, and he writes low life dirtbags.
He does do that, and it's always like, you know, like some parent or an uncle or some fatherly figure is always some fucking dirtbag. And I always laugh because he nails those characters. I knew so many, like in the 80s when I was a kid, I had older sisters. So like my oldest sister was 10 years older than me, and my youngest sister was 7 years older than me. So they were a whole generation different than I was, really. And so their boyfriends and friends and people, it was like there were a lot of dirtbag 70s dudes hanging around the house and like, driving fucking vans and just like, doing dirty shit. And so it's like he nails those dudes. And it's funny now in my life, like I fucking love seeing those characters. I absolutely love seeing those guys pop up, like the scumbag. When what's his name? I can't remember that book. Like that dude. Oh yeah, I know that guy. You know what I mean? Like I know that guy, and there's part of me that is sort of like nostalgic for those dudes too.
Well, they're interesting.
Yeah. They're characters, and you don't have like I feel like, and not to get into a lot of it, but just like you don't have characters like that, I feel like, anymore. Like everybody is sort of
sanitized
and homogenized and like so concerned with their image, and so it's like you don't have people that have a whole lot of character, good or bad. I feel like as much as back in that time, and maybe that's just nostalgia, but yeah, I don't know. There's something.
Well, the Reckless books always make me want to go back and read Stray Bullets, which I feel like they are cousins of each other, and like the criminal series. I feel like without David Lapham, I don't know if there is a Brubaker Phillips. There probably is, but there's so much that you can see that Stray Bullets influence them in those the dirtbag characters.
I never really got into Stray Bullets, so
I've got bedtime emergency.
Okay, Tom.
We're gonna wrap up in a couple minutes anyway.
I have to. There's lots of crying going on in my
house.
Right.
Go take care of that.
Happening.
We'll see you.
Bye, everybody. I'll see you later.
Save the children, Tom.
Save the children.
I have to admit that I've never really read.
Did you ever get into Stray Bullets?
I tried at one point to get into it, and I just didn't really get into it for whatever reason. Maybe
it's
I should.
Kind of a hard read in that he gets so fucking dark that and especially considering I'm trying to think when Stray Bullets was that early 90s?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I've got the big ass compendium up there, but he went places that I don't feel like other comic book creators were going. he was dealing with like sexual abuse of grade school kids and like really horrible dirtbag people that if you knew them in real life, you're like,
those aren't the dirtbags I like. I don't like that. That's over the line.
It's a different kind of dirtbag. It's not it's not the lovable, cuddly, kind of smokes a lot of pot and gets in trouble. It's like, no, this is a serial child molester.
So I will I will say this, some part of it is also I was a child when I met these characters, so they were sort of like bigger than life and cartoonish. But as I got older, there were some that I found out, their stories were not as charming as I may have thought that they were when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you one, but I won't. I don't want to. Yeah.
I was like, Billy's cool. He has a switchblade in his boot.
No, there's one guy that his story is very sad, and I didn't know it until I was much older of how sad his story was, and it's just like, oh, okay, as a kid I didn't think of it that way. He was just sort of an interesting character, that was around, and then when I kind of found out the truth of his story and his situation in life, I was like, oh wow, that's really dark and sad and tragic. Yeah.
Brian J is happy that we're talking about Stray Bullets.
Well, should I read it, Brian J? Should I I think I tried to at one time read it, and
Yeah.
I just didn't get into it. So I don't know. I'll have to maybe try it again sometime.
I would just kind of suggest doing the single issue route. I forget how many issues total there were. You need a break. You need it's not one that I would binge read, because I tried to do that and it put me in a dark place. I mean, it's an emotionally heavy fucking book.
Dark. Yeah.
Yeah, you need a
Right.
little palette. You need a little world's finest in between. Just
It's why,
cleanse the palate.
it's why I still haven't watched stuff like The Handmaid's Tale. It's like I started watching that show and I'm like, yeah, nah, I don't need this in my brain. That's just too. I don't. Yeah, no, I don't
live in it. Don't need to watch it as well. I kind of felt the same way. Greg had a funny comment. Porter says it was talking about Fat Vampire, and this is kind of how I am about a lot of stuff. He says it wasn't good, but I can't give Chris a hard time. I listen to some terrible garbage when I'm working on the house. I have a feeling he listens to us while he's working on the house.
He listens to some terrible garbage. That's right. That's me and
I
you.
read good books.
I'm
I
terrible
live
and
to
you're
the world.
garbage. Or you're terrible and I'm garbage. I don't know which is which.
That could be the new show.
Terrible and garbage.
Terrible and garbage together again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we talked about stuff like Dresden Files and some other popcorny fiction. It's like you didn't like the Dresden Files.
No, I didn't.
I enjoy the level of camp in them.
I have a guilty pleasure right now. I'm reading. I've gone through 3 Reacher books in the last few months because they're just easy, kind of entertaining reads. They're but I am reading them. I'm not fucking listening to them. I have the paperbacks and I read them, and they're under my bed now.
Commute through southeast.
That's what podcasts are for.
I do listen to podcasts. I usually, honestly, I listen to podcasts in the morning. I listen to audiobook on the way home.
I can't listen to audiobooks unless it's like nonfiction. That's the only like fiction stuff. I don't enjoy audiobooks because I don't want someone explaining a scene to me. I don't, I just want my imagination to give me the scene and the characters and the voices, and so I don't engage with audiobooks as much on fiction stuff, although there's been a couple that I have, but for the most part I start to drift away from an audiobook unless it's like nonfiction and it's just sort of like informational and somebody's it's like a documentary, almost an audio documentary, then I can listen to them. But
it's got to be a good reader. Will Wheaton, surprisingly enough, unsurprisingly enough, I like Will Wheaton on some stuff.
I think he did he do Ready?
One?
Yeah, I enjoyed that audiobook. That was a good audiobook.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was read by
what's her name?
Actress who was in Single White Female.
I know who you're talking about. I can think of her name. She was in the Hateful Eight.
In Hateful Eight.
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
Her.
She was in The Breakfast Club.
Yeah. No.
I can't. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Pretty sure.
It's not Ali Sheedy.
Yeah, isn't it?
No, it's not Ali Sheedy.
Oh. Who is it then? You entertain us.
I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, Ali Sheedy was in The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, she was.
But she was not in what you call it? Django Unchained. The Hateful Eight.
Jason Lee. That's
Jennifer Jason Lee.
This senior moment has been brought to you by
Manscaped. No, not
English Breakfast Tea.
You can see why I could confuse the two, though. Ali Sheedy and Jennifer Jason Lee.
Yeah. Well, it's like whenever Billy Super Sounds, I confused Daryl Hannah with Patricia Arquette. I think.
All right. I don't see that. I don't see that as much, but at our age, what are you gonna do?
All right, sir. Well, are we wrapped for the week? I think Tom's got his kids put in bed. We should probably plug
damn crying kids
Patreon. After he puts his
Oh!
kids to bed, he's going to work on another episode of Tom Versus. So.
We have a new patron this
Oh,
week.
great.
Shout out to our new patron, Beth. And she actually sent us a message when she signed up. She said, I can only apologize for not subscribing sooner. So,
Oh, Beth, don't worry about
yeah,
it. We've only
thank
been
you,
doing
Beth.
it for 16 fucking years.
But thank you, Beth, for signing up. We hope you enjoy the podcast. And Beth is a comic book creator herself, I believe so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Send us
And
some stuff, Beth. That would be good. Digital, not asking for comps.
Yeah.
Would love to peruse your work. You can find out more about the Patreon stuff at patreon.com/around comics. You get, first of all, you help out the show. That's the big thing. It gives us not financial things to worry about with paying hosting and all that stuff. Just lets us concentrate on doing the show. So we appreciate that. But you do get some extra content. We've got ACTV, what Sal and I do every week, talking about what we've been watching. I think we're going to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is that the name of it?
Oh yeah, watch that. That was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. Also,
I'm gonna get caught up on Barry.
Barry is, talk about getting dark. Barry's getting fucking dark.
Barry can get.
I mean,
Really
it was
dark.
always kind of dark, but this season is like unrelenting. Like,
Yeah.
it's dark. It's getting dark. Yeah, Barry's good. More Star Trek.
You
I
gonna
know.
get caught up on Made for Love, which is their
That's probably
second
not.
season.
Listen, I'm just gonna tell you right now. Tomorrow, Stranger Things and Obi-Wan comes out, so that's probably not
Oh,
happening.
really?
Yeah.
Is tomorrow
so.
Stranger Things?
Tomorrow is I believe the first part of the last season.
Oh, they're gonna drop it in two halves.
Yeah, and evidently, like, some of the episodes are 3 hours long, so it's a very weird kind of schedule. But
Really,
yeah. There's like 2 episodes there, so I think it's
yeah.
I don't know, 11 episodes or something. Don't quote me on that. But then there's 2 of them that are like 3 hours long, and it's in 2 parts. So
Is this the last season? Have they said if
that
this is the last?
well, as far as I know, it is.
This cast, right?
Well, that's probably, they're like teenagers. I mean, they're all in their fucking 20s now. I mean, they don't look like kids any longer. So I don't know how they get away with it anymore. But Stranger Things in college. Yeah, I don't know. But
Was it Billy Bobby Brown? I mean, she's doing like Vogue.
Yeah, she's a fucking supermodel, and the only one that looks the same is Dustin. He still looks that poor kid still looks like he's 12. The rest of them have grown up. But yeah, looking forward to that. You got to watch the George Carlin.
I'm halfway through the Carlin documentary.
Oh, okay.
I am absorbing it slowly and just kind of soaking in it. You know,
so gross.
Soaking in George Carlin.
I
I love. If I could get a fucking print of it, that picture of Lenny Bruce getting carted off to jail and Carlin is right behind him.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Oh, I want that picture so bad.
Well, go get it.
Go find it. I love that picture. Yeah, and I love Lenny Bruce's response whenever he asks Carlin why he's getting arrested, and what Carlin says, I forget what he said. But he was trying to
kind of solidarity. He was sort of doing
it's like, because I'm doing it for you, and Lenny Bruce just looks at him and goes, schmuck.
Yeah. Lenny Bruce. Yeah.
That's good stuff. So anyway, we'll talk about all of that and more on ACTV this week. Or actually, oh gosh, yeah. Well, no, we're K-Billy Super Sounds doing Django Unchained. Then we're gonna do ACTV.
Holy Christ!
I know. Not enough days or hours in the day.
Hey.
Check out all that and more. You got anything else, Sal?
I think that's it. I think that's all I got for today.
All right, everyone, thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it. For our patrons, including Beth now, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Send us feedback at the show. You can email us, info@aroundcomics.com. Check out the social media stuff. We love the interaction during the shows on Thursday. Appreciate it. And yeah, that's it. Everyone enjoy the beginnings of summer here. We hope that that you're taking us along on your bike rides, your walks, or whatever. We will
House painting,
yard work, all of the stuff. Even though Marta won't let me listen to podcasts while I'm mowing anymore, she makes me wear earplugs. I know.
What are you, a child? What do you mean she makes you? She physically
like,
holds you down and
wear earplugs. All right, we will be back.
Hey, act like a man and just lie to your wife.
She always knows, man. She always knows. Like me trying to lie to you. You know
why does she want you wearing earplugs?
Because I'm going deaf.
That has nothing to do with mowing your fucking lawn. Come on. It's all the concerts you've been doing over the fucking years. It's not
Pretty
mowing
much.
your lawn.
Yeah. But Ozfest was fucking worth it.
There you go. See?
Yeah, there you go. All right. We'll be back next Thursday talking more comics. In the meantime,
in between time,
we will be everywhere in
and around comics.
Coming.